Wild Running, Part 2, Chapter 7. The snowstorm came up fast and fierce on a cold afternoon 2 weeks before Anya and Sam's wedding. Sam, Sean, and Anya bundled up and rushed out to bring the horses from the big barn in, while April and Blake went out to the other pasture to bring in the boarders that were housed in the new barn. "I thought it was just supposed to snow," Sean yelled as they hurried through the wind and blinding snow to the field. "The weatherman is always wrong, Sean. You know that," Sam snapped, putting a lead on Zephyr and leading the mare through the gate while Anya grabbed Chinook and her daughter Obsidian by the halters and jogged them both up together. Sean took Smoke and quickly closed the gate behind her to prevent the others from pushing through. They kept going, one after the other, until the entire herd was in. It was typical Ontario winter, sunny and mild one day, -10 and blustering snow the next. "Phew, glad that's done," Sean said, brushing snow from his toque and shoulders. "Who wants to race me to the house?" Anya flashed him a grin and ran past him, sprinting through the snow. "Hey, no fair," he called after her as he struggled to catch up. Sam followed after turning off the lights and making sure all the doors were snugly closed to keep out the blowing snow. By the time he got to the house, the hot chocolate was already being prepared in the kitchen. He happily accepted the steaming mug offered to him and sighed contentedly after taking a sip. He sat beside Anya and put his cold hands on her neck. "Aw, you jerk," she accused him, but ruined it by laughing. He chuckled and put both hands on his mug to warm them. "I think you've been spending too much time with Sean. That's more his style," she pointed out. "Hey, I didn't even do it and I still get the blame?" Sean asked. He put his hand over his heart and managed to look wounded. "Yeah, pretty much," Anya said with an unrepentant grin. "Unfair," he replied. "What's unfair is you still refusing to talk to Tori," Sam murmured, too quietly for anyone but Anya to hear, tugging on her ponytail. Anya glared at him, her eyes clearly telling him to back off. "Go talk to her," he whispered in her ear. Anya sighed. She should have known better than to talk to Sam about her hurt feelings. He was far too logical. Fine. She took an extra cup of hot chocolate with her and went to the office. Knocked. "Yeah." Anya pushed the door open and set the mug on Tori's desk. Backed up to the wall beside the door and leaned against it. "I'm sorry it's taken me so long to talk to you. I know it hasn't been fair of me." Tori shook her head in denial. "No, don't apologize. I deliberately put him up for sale when I knew you wanted to keep him. To be honest, I don't think I'd get so many responses so quickly." "I know. I figured that." "I'm sorry, Anya." Anya nodded her acceptance. "I was hurt and angry that you didn't talk to me about it first," she explained. "But I know you didn't do it to hurt me." Tori did some clicking and typing on the computer and showed Anya the folder she'd created with the responses for Wild Running's Dreamboat. Anya shook her head as she leaned over Tori's chair to see. "Okay, I'm actually pretty impressed. Who is it that wants him?" Tori pulled up the emails from the buyer in the States. "One Madison Tucker in Bainbridge, Ohio." Anya read through the correspondence and smiled. "As much as I hate to admit it, this sounds like the perfect home for him. She wants to send a deposit?" Tori nodded and scrolled up to that message. "I haven't responded." Anya smiled. "Go ahead, Tori. He's already a good boy with a good head on his shoulders. He knows some basics, and we've already had him in the trailer a time or two. Tell her we'd prefer for her to come for him in person, but she's our choice for him." Tori quickly typed up a response and turned to Anya for her okay before sending it. "Done and done. We'll see how she responds." Anya frowned when the doorbell rang. The doorbell never rang. "You expecting someone?" Tori shook her head with a frown. "Who's going to come visiting during a snowstorm?" Anya shrugged and led the way down to the front door. She opened it to a scent of pine needles and the sight of a huge man who looked more like a bear than a human. He had to be at least 6'7" and was built like a tank. His dark blue eyes were the only recognizable feature on his face. The rest of it was covered with a bristly beard and bushy eyebrows that were dusted in snow. Do I know you?" she asked, narrowing her eyes in an attempt to see past the snow and scruff. "Anya Tyler, have you ever changed since last time I saw you?" the man replied in a gravelly voice, grabbing her in a suffocating bear hug. When he put her down, she struggled to catch her breath for a few seconds. "No way! Is that Dominic Chaswick hiding under all that hair?" Anya replied with a happy squeal. Dominic guffawed. That was the only way to describe it. It was a rumble deep in his chest that erupted into a loud laugh. "I came as soon as I heard that you were about to get married," he said and scowled. "Without sending me an invite either," he chastened. Anya had the grace to look sheepish. "To be fair, it's not that easy to find you, mountain man," she pointed out. He made a scoffing noise. "I'm easy enough to find, if one takes the time to look," he insisted. He did have a cabin nearby, but he wasn't often in it. Well, Dom, don't just stand out there in the snow. Come in, Anya invited, ignoring his comment. She backed out of the way, pulling Tori aside with her. If he can even fit through the doorway, Tori mumbled to Anya. Anya glared and shook her finger at Tori. Don't be rude. Tori glared back at Anya as the two of them led Dom into the kitchen. The girls introduced Dominic to everyone. So, Sam, I hear that you plan to marry my little girl, Dom said with a sternness that made him look and sound very fierce. Having known Anya for most of her life, he considered himself almost like a father to the girl. He'd only seen her once or twice since her parents had died, but he kept tabs on her and Tori and was proud of what the girls had done. It took a lot of guts to turn tragedy into success, and that's exactly what they'd done. Work together to make their dream a reality. Only with your permission, Dom, Sam said with a grin as he stood and offered his hand to the man. Dominic took it in a brutal shake. Well, since you asked so nicely, he chuckled and winked. How did you find out about the wedding, Dom? Anya asked as they sat around the table. Sean silently rose and put the kettle on to make some more hot chocolate. Oh, I hear things now and then, even out in the wilderness, Dom said with a grin. His cabin was entirely off the grid, and he spent a lot of his time camping in his own large expanse of land that was mostly forest as well as traveling elsewhere. What have you been up to lately? Anya asked. Oh, this and that. I occasionally still help out with troubled horses, but mostly I just live off my gardens. Dominic was a horse whisperer. He wasn't widely known, but those who did know of him swore by him. Thank you, son, he said to Sean as he accepted the hot chocolate from him. He took a long sip. Did you drive out here? Tori wondered, glancing out the window at the snow still coming down steadily, occasionally gusting up against the window panes, making a faint whistling noise. Dom shook his head with a laugh. No, dear girl, I rode, of course. Anya gasped. In this? Where's your horse? I found an empty stall and put him there, he replied with a shrug. I'll get out with your man later on and make sure he's all set, he said, indicating Sam. Sam nodded his consent. On second thought, I'd like to go now before it gets much worse out there. Not going to quit tonight, Dom told them as he set aside his mug. Sean, you and Blake go out to the other barn and get the evening chores done. If anyone is going home, they may want to leave now, Anya decided. Sam and Dominic head out to the new barn together, and Dom showed Sam where he put his handsome Frisian stallion. He won't bother with the other horses, but I made sure to put him a stall apart just in case the other horses aren't quite as gentlemanly. The horse was a good 16 hands high. He had long, thick mane and tail common for the breed, as well as the beautiful feathering on his lower legs. He had pricked his short ears forward when they approached, and walked to the door to stick his long neck over it for a rub. Sam couldn't resist patting the muscular neck and admiring the strong, compact body of the perfectly proportioned stud. Sam, in the absence of Anya's father, I'm going to fill in the role and ask you what your intentions are toward Anya, Dominic said, while the two men worked together to top up the water buckets, refresh the hay supply, and hand out the evening rations of grain. Sam had been expecting something along those lines as soon as Dom had asked for him in particular. I love her, and I'm going to marry her and spend the rest of my life trying to make her happy. Dominic appreciated this straight from the hip response. He thought he could come to respect Sam Webster. I want you to understand that if you hurt her, break her heart, I will hunt you down and no one will ever find your body. They started back to the house in silence as Sam thought about what was said. Dom, I promise you that I will do the best I can with Anya. If you ever think that I would intentionally hurt her, you have my blessing to end me. Dom grinned and slapped Sam on the back, nearly knocking him into the snow. That's the right answer. A week later, things were starting to tense up as the wedding approached. Fortunately, the weather was cooperating, but that made them all leery, concerned that it would be perfect until the last possible moment before turning nasty. It hadn't snowed since the major snowstorm, nor had it melted as expected. Instead, the weather was holding, staying just cold enough to prevent melting even with regular sunshine. Courtney was practicing riding Dancer in one of the training corrals when Sam called her to the barn. She dismounted and looped Dancer's reins over the fence like Sam had taught her and went to find out what he wanted. Hey, I could use a hand with Anya's wedding present. She went to town to pick up groceries for the wedding with Sean and Tori, so we've got some time before she comes back. Courtney nodded and followed Sam with open curiosity as he led her out the front of the stable to the farm's trailer. She'd seen it pull in and had been wondering what was going on, but had assumed that they had taken one of the weanlings or horses in training out for a drive to get them accustomed to trailering as they often did. I've already got a stall ready for him. I just need you to open and close doors for me and give me a hand if anything happens. He's a bit feisty right now. Courtney nodded again, fighting the urge to demand answers as curiosity ate at her. As soon as I get through, close it, he ordered when they reached the trailer. Courtney held the trailer door so Sam could slip in without the horse slipping out and quickly shut it behind him. Okay, open up, Sam called after a few minutes, some muttering and banging. He led the horse out of the trailer as soon as the door opened and walked in a quick circle to calm the snorting animal. Go open that barn door, quick! Courtney tore her eyes from the prancing horse, raced to the barn, and pushed open the door. It wasn't easy with all the snow, but she managed with an effort, using her body weight and digging the toes of her boots into the snow for traction. Next door, last on a left, Sam instructed. He led the horse into the barn and loosed him into his new stall. Courtney stood with him as he lifted the bars on the door and locked them in place, preventing the stud from poking his head into the aisle. They stood silently together as they admired the black stallion. He stood 16 hands high and had a regal air about him. His tail flagged as he jogged around the large box stall. His neck arched gracefully as he breathed heavily through flared nostrils. Anya's going to go crazy over him, Courtney told Sam. But how are you going to keep her from finding out about him before the wedding? Sam grinned. She's not allowed to set foot in either barn until after the wedding. Knowing her, it'll be right after, which will be perfect. She's lucky to have you. Sam bit back his first thought and considered her tone. You have me too, you know, he told her gently, then grinned. I'm about to be your new cousin-in-law. That brought him a smile. I should go finish up with Dancer. I really appreciate you letting me ride her, she offered. She wasn't big on social graces, but she was trying. She wanted to belong here. It felt like home to her now, and she needed to make sure she was welcome. No problem. I figure if you're set on getting your own horse one day, you'll need all the practice you can get. Ow, 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 Tori repeated the litany as she hobbled to the house. She really had made a mistake buying that stupid mare, she thought darkly to herself as she limped up the stairs into the kitchen. She fished a bag of frozen peas out of the freezer to press against her already colorful bruise on her leg. What happened to you? Sean asked from the sink where he was busy deboning a chicken. Tori heaved a sigh. That mare. Sean grinned at her over his shoulder. Kicked you good, huh? I think I'm going to give her to Anya. Let her train, then sell the beast. Oh, don't be so grumpy. She's a young, free spirit. She's just letting you know that she needs time and patience. By kicking me? Sean kept his face averted to hide his grin and nodded. Well, she needs to learn a better means of communication, she groused. You should talk to Dominic about whispering her for you, Sean suggested. I was talking to that guy, and boy was I impressed. He's a walking miracle, and if half the stories he tells are true, he told her, his voice ringing with admiration. Tori liked that idea. She still wanted things to work with Nebula, but she just didn't have the skill set to deal with the fractious mare. All she had done was try a bit of lunging, and she got nothing but a nasty bruise and bad temper to show for it. You know where he is? She asked. Sean shrugged. Probably out riding. You know he disappears most days on that gorgeous Frisian of his. What I wouldn't do to get my hands on a horse like that. He whistled long and low. Gorgeous. Tori was shocked to find herself jealous of the horse. She was actually tempted to play one of those stupid girly games, asked him if he thought the horse was better looking than her. She mentally rolled her eyes at herself and resisted the urge. You know, I love Canadians, but maybe you guys should diversify. Bring a little, fresh blood to the ranch, Sean suggested. He'd finally finished his task and set aside the raw bones and other bits the dogs could have. Dazzle was going to love him. Why don't you just marry him? Tori burst out. She blinked in shocked embarrassment and ran from the room, ignoring the pain in her panic. Sean stood there for a full minute. He was so surprised and confused. Okay, he said slowly. He thoroughly washed his hands and went after her. He found her face down on her bed, crying her heart out, her body jerking with the force of her sobs. Oh, honey, you can't do this to me, he told her, a tad desperate. He hadn't expected to feel so helpless, and he ran his hand over his face and took the plunge. He walked in, sat down next to her, patted her on the back awkwardly in an attempt to comfort. Seriously, I'm no good at this whole comforting thing. You have to stop, he demanded. She made an effort to pull herself together, but she couldn't face him, not with her nose running and her eyes bloodshot. Go away, she told him, her voice muffled by the pillow. He wanted to. Boy, did he want to. But he also knew better. I'm not leaving until you tell me what's wrong. Nothing. Liar, he accused. For that, he deserved to see her in all her miserable glory. She moved quickly, grabbing a Kleenex and dabbing her eyes before blowing her nose and glaring at him. He smiled slowly, and his blue eyes warmed. There's my firecracker, he told her. She made a noise partway between a squeak and a moan and dove for the pillow again. She couldn't handle him being all sweet and wonderful when she felt like a total mess. Tori, I need to know what that was about, he told her, his tone brooking no nonsense. Tori was shocked. She'd never heard him use a tone like that, not ever. It was tough, demanding, commanding. She got up again. She couldn't resist. Nothing, she said emphatically. He sighed. I'm not playing games with you, Tori. If nothing's wrong, then fine. I believe you and I'll leave. Last chance to change your story. Tori studied him, from his determined eyes to his set jaw, and she knew he wasn't bluffing. With a sigh, she decided to come clean. I'm just such a mess, Sean, she told him, pulling her knees up to her chest and hugging them. I can't seem to do anything right lately, and my emotions have been all over the place. I don't know if it's Anya getting married or you or just everything that's been going on the last few years, but I just... She paused, searching for the right words. I'm just overwhelmed with it all. Now that he'd gotten her talking, Sean was completely at a loss. Did he say something? Say nothing? Pat her on the shoulder? He figured she'd just take that last option badly, so he decided to keep his mouth shut, see if she had anything else she needed to get off her chest. Do you like me better than a horse? She finally asked. Sean stifled a laughter as soon as he realized that she was serious. Tori, you mean more to me than 50 horses, he told her, realizing as he said it that it was nothing less than the truth. Her smile was watery, but it was there, and she released her knees to throw her arms around him and hug him. She was letting her insecurities get to her. She'd never particularly been proud of her looks. She knew she was okay looking. Her hair, eyes, and complexion were good, but she worked in the kitchen or in the office and didn't get enough exercise to counter the calories she ate. She knew that, and every time she looked at Anya or Courtney or any of their perfectly proportioned girls, she couldn't help but feel second-rate at best. It was hard to imagine a handsome man like Sean could prefer her imperfect figure over the other women around him. You are the most beautiful woman in the world as far as I'm concerned, Sean whispered against her ear. A few more tears fell, but they weren't tears of self-pity anymore, but happiness. She knew he meant it, and that was enough.